sure that. Related to usulul fiqh, it is usulul fiqh, Taqleed and Ijtihaad is in the category or the books or the issue or in the books in the category or in particular here the subject of usulul fiqh. It is a category, it is a bab in usulul fiqh. All right, Ijtihaad is one category and Taqleed is another category. They really don't have a relationship with each other. All right, because Taqleed is pertaining to blind following. So when you get in usulul fiqh and you hear about Taqleed, you're gonna find it in the section related to Mufti wa Mustafti, right? Mufti wa Mustafti, right? The one who gives the fatwa and the one who asks for the fatwa or asks the question. Right? They're related to the issue of Ijtihaad. Ijtihaad has no correlation with the one who is Taqleed or the one who is a Muqalid or blind following. Related to Ijtihaad, first, Ijtihaad has conditions. It's not for the laymen. All right, even for Taqleed, according to usulul fiqh, Taqleed is pertaining to somebody who is not a scholar. Laysa min ahlu. Right. So before we talk about define what is Ijtihaad, let's talk about what are the conditions for a person to make Ijtihaad. All right, Ijtihaad is pertaining to something that is not covered or not spoken about in Quran and Sunnah. Something that we don't find an answer for in the Quran and something that we don't find an answer for in Hadith. All right. So this is not something that somebody who is following Taqleed or a blind follower, this is not pertaining to the blind follower because he doesn't know the difference between his elbows and his knees when it's pertaining to the religion. So the issue related to Ijtihaad, first, it has conditions. It has conditions. Before you can get to the conditions of Ijtihaad or the topic Ijtihaad, is about who's able to make Ijtihaad. Ijtihaad is not for the layman. It's not for the Muqalid. It is not for the Tulabu Ilm. It's not even for the students of knowledge. It is for Ahlu Ilm. Pertaining here specifically is related to the Mufti. So we got to explain what is a Mufti in Islam. Who is the Mufti? Alright? What is the Mufti? Who is the Mufti? What is a Mufti? Some laymen would say, oh, the Mufti means the Mufti of, for example, Saudi Arabia or the Mufti of Egypt. This is the main scholar. This is not the correct answer to a Mufti. Mufti is not pertaining to the main big scholar of the government who works for Dawla, who's the main scholar or every scholar. The word Mufti is not pertaining to that particular person who works for Dawla, who works for government. Mufti, according to usulul fiqh, is somebody who could give fatwa, and he has to have some conditions. The condition for a person to be a mufti, meaning to able to answer Islamic questions, Q&A, he must first know the Arabic language in and out. Number one, he must understand adab. Here, adab means literature in the Arabic language. Familiarize with the Arabic literature and its language, meaning nahu, grammar, in and out of the Arabic language. Must be fluent or mastery in the Arabic language. That's number one. Number two, he must know the Quran or familiarize with the majority of the Quran and its meaning and its tafsirs and its relationship pertaining to the Sharia law. He must know that. Next, he must be familiarized with the different madhahib in Islam, the different opinions of the scholars from the different schools of thoughts. He must be with the masail, right? He must be familiarized with these things. Next, he must be familiarized with the sciences of hadith. All right, and the sciences of hadith are very deep. Then he must be familiarized things pertaining to usulul fiqh. All right, then he must be familiarized with the hadiths, authentic hadiths, familiarize of the books of the sunnah. Doesn't mean he has to memorize them all, but he must be very much familiarized with the books of sunnah, the hadiths. The books or the hadith and its sources must be very much familiarized with that and the sunnah. Alright? These are the conditions to be a mufti. Alright? So he must be what? He must be strong in the Arabic language. He must be strong with Arabic literature and familiarized with it. He also must be familiarized with urf. Got to mention that. Urf means customs. Alright? Arabic language. Adab, which here means Arabic literature. It must be also familiarized with urf, customs. Must be familiarized with the Quran. Doesn't mean he has to be hafiz, but he must be familiarized with the ahkam of the Quran. It's the Quranic rulings and it pertaining to the Sharia law. Then he must be familiarized with the different schools of thoughts, opinions. Must be familiarized with those things. Must be familiarized with the science of hadith and the books of sunnah pertaining to the hadith. Must be familiarized that. Bukhari, Muslim, Sunnah Abu Dawud. Must be familiarized with the books of sunnah related to hadith. Alright? So once that is there and that is established, then we could talk about what is ijtihaad, because ijtihaad is pertaining to ahlul ilm, where the word mufti is a little bit stronger. Because ijtihaad is related to somebody who has knowledge of these matters that I mentioned. Because when you make ijtihaad, you could be sometimes ijtihaad is pertaining to qiyas. Alright? Sometimes ijtihaad is pertaining to qiyas, which is also part of usul fiqh. And you can't make ijtihaad in the matter if you're not familiarized with Quran, if you're not familiarized with the Sunnah, if you're not familiarized with the Sharia law, Sharia laws, if you're not familiarized with the different opinions of the scholars and fatwa and different rulings that they have and why they differ, then you cannot do ijtihaad. Ijtihaad is not for the layman and is not for the student of knowledge or the beginner student of knowledge. All right, so we got that out the way. All right, so anything related to ijtihaad, we understand, is related to people, scholars, mufti. I mentioned the condition of the mufti. All right, related to taqleed. Taqleed has no correlation with the Muqalid, has no correlation with the one who is able to do ijtihaad, because the one who is taqleed, meaning is understood in usul fiqh, taqleed, and the Muqalid, meaning the person is not a scholar. He's not familiarized with the deen. He doesn't understand. So he must find somebody who understands the religion, who's able to give Q&A, answer his questions, who's the mufti, who able to answer it. All right, pertaining to ijtihaad, that's pertaining to people who have knowledge pertaining to things or issues that come up that you cannot find the answer for them in the Quran, and you cannot find answers for it in the hadith. For example, like the likeness of ta'meen. Ta'meen means insurance. There's no ayat in Quran pertaining to insurance, and there's no hadith pertaining to insurance. So you'll find when the ulama talks about ta'meen, insurance, a lot of them are coming from ijtihaad, and you're going to have different opinions related to insurance. All right, because there's no clear-cut ayat in Quran that prohibits insurance. There's no clear-cut hadith that prohibits insurance. All right, so a lot of cases, things are not covered or not mentioned in the Quran or not mentioned in the hadith that's pertaining to the scholars, who's the mufti, who's the alim, who's able to do ijtihaad. And ijtihaad, how they do ijtihaad, they look for something else, some other proofs and evidence that might not talk about the topic in Quran or the Sunnah, but they might look for ayat that's talking about another issue that's very similar to it. All right, and the scholar, he makes ijtihaad based upon things like this. For example, there's more into it, but I'm not getting into every detail, but there's more into it. So the issue related to taqleed, blind following, As you look in the books of usul fiqh, it says about taqleed, a alim cannot be a blind follower, cannot do taqleed. Any books of usul fiqh, they're going to mention that taqleed is only pertaining to people who don't have knowledge related to the religion. So the person who's the Muqalid, the person who falls under the condition of taqleed, him, Taqleed and Ijtihaad has no connection. Has no connection. Even though it's in the same book of Usul Fiqh, but it's in a different category. Related to Mufti wa Mustafti. Alright? Ijtihaad, that's pertaining to issues that's not covered in the Quran, that's not covered in Hadith, and there's no clear-cut answer for it. So you go to the alim who's the scholar, he makes the ijtihaad. Ijtihaad is based upon somebody who has knowledge of these things that I have mentioned. He's the one who's able to make ijtihaad, not the Muqalid, not the student of knowledge. Alright, I hope that answered that question. Because I see some people, they read some books or they learn a little bit this and that, and they're not really familiarized with the whole category. The mashallah, tabarak, the sheikh, the brother, he mentioned he takes the opinion of blind following is not permissible. May Allah bless him. I take it from the opinion that some forms of blind following is permissible. Some forms of taqleed is permissible with conditions. Right? The brother mentioned to him in his argument that taqleed is permissible. Hold on. The other sheikh, the sheikh he was debating with, mentioned that he takes the position that taqleed is haram. But he said the scholars differ in that matter. So that means he's recognizing, even though he takes the opinion that it's haram, but scholars differ in that matter. I mean, then he's letting you know, or he's letting the people know that, yeah, there's difference of opinion, but this is what I follow. This is the opinion I take. Then if a person takes that opinion, I can't force him to take my opinion. All right? I can't force another person to take my opinion. Right? In Islam, I can't force that. And scholars are going to differ in different matters. And I can't force somebody to take my opinion, especially if I have some proofs and some evidence. Right? Especially if there's some proofs and there's some evidence that to support that. All right? Sometimes a person might relate it to blind following. I take it from the opinion that some forms of it is permissible. Then this is where I want to go to it now. The forms of taqleed that is permissible. The forms of taqleed that is permissible. Then the scholars will say, the ones who say that taqleed is permissible, but it also has conditions. The scholars who say taqleed is permissible, then it has some conditions. What are some of the conditions? The scholars say that taqleed is permissible. It has to be, you must blind follow the person who has knowledge, the alim, the mufti. All right? You must follow the one who doesn't have knowledge. Meaning that I don't blind follow somebody else who's another blind follower like me. I'm a Muqalid. I don't blind follow another opinion of another Muqalid. All right? I don't blind follow the opinion of another Muqalid. If I'm a blind follower, or I don't know, when I ask for a fatwa from an alim, from a mufti, and the mufti gives me the fatwa, it doesn't mean that it's binding on everybody. That's another whole subject. All right, if a sheikh gives a fatwa, it doesn't mean the fatwa is binding on everybody to follow. All right, because we understand in the issues of mufti wa mustafti that some cases when the mufti gives a fatwa, he's not going to give in the fatwa or the adillah. I'll say it again. He's not going to give in the fatwa or the adillah, because the purpose of the sheikh giving the fatwa, the mufti giving the fatwa, he's explaining all the things I mentioned, all the conditions it takes to be a mufti. He's taking all the knowledge he knows and he's simplifying the information for the one who is a Muqalid, a blind follower who don't know, who's not a sheikh, who's not a student of knowledge. He's taking all the knowledge that he knows that's hard and difficulty, and he's simplifying it in answers. And that answer easy for you to digest meaning to understand for your situations. And that's why fatwa changes from time to time, land to land, place to place. Fatwas differ on an issue. You ask one alim a fatwa, he gives you one. You ask another sheikh another fatwa in the same question, and he gives a different answer. That's why. That's why the scholars sometimes he asks the same question, he give the fatwa, give a different answer. Other one give a fatwa, give a different answer. Why? Because fatwa could change from sheikh to sheikh, condition of the person who's asking the question. But for the job of the mufti, when somebody asks him a question, that he simplify the answer so he can understand it, and that it's for his situations. That's why another reason why every fatwa is not binding on everybody. Because I could go to another country, they have their own alim, that own their own sheikh, and he give a different fatwa from the sheikh in Saudi Arabia. This is the issue of the blind follower, because he doesn't seek knowledge. He doesn't know these issues and these matters. It's like the person who goes to court. He has a lawyer, and the judge make a statement or give a ruling. What the lawyer job is to do when the judge give a statement or a ruling, the lawyer who understands legal terms, he explain it in the most simplest form and fashion for you as a layman who don't understand law, for you to digest it. Then when he answers for you to the judge, you talk to your lawyer. Your lawyer is not, you talk to your lawyer and you're not a person who's a jurisprudence, don't understand law, don't use legal terms. When you talk to your lawyer to explain your side of the story, or what your version is, or explain your side of the story, your lawyer takes it, whatever you say, he finds a way to fit it into legal terms pertaining to the law, and he gives his statement for you on behalf of you to the judge in legal terms. In legal terms. In legal terms. And then whatever the judge say to you that you understand, your attorney explaining to you in simple layman terms for you to understand it. Very simple. All right. So the issues of taqleed and the issues of ijtihaad, they have no correlations with each other pertaining to these peoples. Rather yet, only relationship that he has is part of the categories of usulul fiqh. In usulul fiqh, there's many categories in usulul fiqh. All right, usulul fiqh has many categories. Qiyas, that's one of them. What's another category? Mustalah hadith is another one. Lugha, Arabic language, another one. What is like kalam? That's part of also usulul fiqh. It has many categories in usulul fiqh. It has many categories, meaning have many chapters in usulul fiqh. All right. So I hope the brother who's troubling this brother, I hope this, he gets some clarity between two. What is ijtihaad and what is taqleed? It has no correlation. Ijtihaad and taqleed has no correlation. All right. Only correlation that will come to it is in this usulul fiqh, or somebody asks a sheikh pertaining to a question that he doesn't understand. He asks him a question. The one who's the Muqalid, the one who don't know, he asks the Mufti a question. The one who has knowledge of the religion, the one who has the qualification, makes the condition. He asks him a question, and the sheikh has to go through. He goes through all those conditions to give him an answer, or ijtihaad. And ijtihaad is not for the layman Muslim. Ijtihaad is not for the layman Muslim. All right, layman Muslim he wouldn't have a clue about ijtihaad. The layman Muslim, the one who's doing the taqleed, he don't have no understanding of the issues of ijtihaad. Has no understanding of conditions of the word ijtihaad. Just like if one is persistent with being a muqalid, being a blind follower, then you will never understand the religion. All right. Then you would never understand the religion. And then those scholars who say blind following is not permissible, even though I might not take that opinion, I see where they're coming from, because I see the conditions of the Muqalid when they abandon knowledge altogether. All right? When they abandon knowledge altogether, or seeking knowledge altogether, most likely and most of the time they end up in shambles and confused related pertaining to the religion. He's the one who is first trialed with his religion, the one who is the Muqalid, blind follower. All right, the one who is the Muqalid or blind follower. And then related to the issues of blind following, I do find some of it permissible. In some cases, in some situations, it's going to be permissible. For example, I live in a place I live in the land, for example, like in America, for example. I have no sheikh with me, no shuyukh, no sheikh to ask for fatwa, who's not familiarized, nobody, no callers, nothing. In the call of Islam, can't get fatwa anyway. I have no sheikh with me. I have no one to answer my questions. I have nothing with me, but I do have with me some books from the ulama who are known for knowledge, even if it's a book from a particular opinion from a particular madhab. If I have a book from a particular opinion of a madhab, and I myself don't have no scholar to ask, I have no one around me who has knowledge to ask, instead of me just following my whims and my desires, I turn around and say, you know what? I'm going to follow this book that's based on a madhab that the scholars agreed upon, this particular madhab that is authentic madhab. I'm going to take the opinion of this sheikh. It's better off taking the opinion from a sheikh, from a madhab, or a particular sheikh who's known for knowledge, than to blind follow my own whims and desires. Because if you follow your own whims and desire, you might end up sinning or harming yourself. If I follow opinion of a scholar that is known for knowledge, or madhab that is authentic, even though the opinion is weak, it's better off I follow that than follow my own whims and desires. All right. So that's where some conditions of blind following is permissible in some cases and situations. Because at one time I did believe blind following is forbidden. All right. It's haram. And I can see some of the scholars who say, I understand why they say it, due to the current condition of the ummah. Due to the current condition of the ummah, I see why they say it. All right, but I live in the West, I live in America, and I can see sometimes people own books. People have books from different ulama related to certain mathahib, certain schools of thought that might have authentic things inside the book, but some of the books might have weak opinions, right? Might have weak opinions in the books, right? If I have no mashayikh with me, no scholar with me, and I have a decision to make about something related pertaining to the religion, and I don't know, I have no sheikh to contact, I have no student knowledge to contact, I just have the book, I'm better off following the book than follow my own whims and desires. But if I have a sheikh, I have a alim with me, I have somebody who is busy seeking knowledge, I have a student of knowledge with me, a sheikh, a alim who's familiarized with the different schools of thought, who's familiarized with the Sharia of Allah, then I will go to him to answer my questions if I don't know. If I'm a layman Muslim and I am seeking knowledge, then the purpose of seeking knowledge is to remove from you some type of ignorance. All right? To remove from you some types of ignorance. If I'm a student of knowledge and I'm learning with my sheikh or my teacher, there's going to be some forms of fashion of blind following there. But it's not a condition that's going to be it's not going to be a condition that's going to be mabni, yani. لا أعرف كيف أقول في إنجليزية، أعرف كيف أقول في اللغة العربية. إذا أنا طالب أنا جاهل لا يعرف قولوا حكم في إسلام، ثم أنا أدرس وأجلس مع الشيخ وأنا أقرأ منهم على قدمه، يتلقى العلم به على قدمه، ثم هو يعلمني الدين، ثم أنا تابعه، يعني أنا مقال له بشرط، يعني هذا شيء ليس مبني. بعد أن أفهم الشيخ هو طريق الوسيلة إلى العلم، هو ليس العلم، هو طريق والوسيلة إلى العلم بس. The sheikh is the one to connect you to the knowledge. He's not the knowledge itself. He's going to connect you to the knowledge. So sooner or later, when you start seeking ilm, you're not going to be fixed on being a blind follower. Laysa mabni, yani. You're not going to be fixed on being a blind follower when you become a student of knowledge, because when you reach to a certain level, then you're going to be able to understand the religion. The sheikh is only the guide. He's the connected to you to the religion, to the knowledge. And this is why some students of big mashayikh, they disagree with their sheikh. If you study anything about the four madhabs, the mathahib al-arba'ah, if you study anything about the four madhabs, you're going to find that some of them were students of the mashayikh. Some of them were their students, and they differ from them. They disagree with them, their students. right? Because they doesn't mean that blind following is mabni, it's fixed. You take the knowledge from the sheikh, doesn't mean after you're going to agree with everything that he say or do or every opinion. All right, doesn't mean now you're going to be fixed to be a blind follower. But pertaining to the person who doesn't understand his religion, then you should, as Allah say, فَاسْأَلْ أَخْرُ ذِكْرَ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So there is some conditions pertaining to the taqleed, right? There's some conditions pertaining to the one who is blind following. Then there's not you that's following anybody from your whims, meaning that you're not blind following somebody who's not qualified to get fatwa. And that's a whole nother category by itself, at-ta'alim or mutta'alim. You know, those people who pretend to have knowledge, that's also a big fitna in the ummah. People who give in fatwa, people who are teaching or giving fatwa, and they're not qualified. They're not people from Ahlul. And this is another reason why scholars say blind following is not permissible to a certain extent, because many people have been misguided. Then some scholars say that it is permissible to with conditions. All right, those who say that blind following is permissible, they forget to mention with conditions, with conditions, with conditions. So I hope that answer related to a taqleed wa ijtihaad. All right, taqleed wa ijtihaad, because ijtihaad, that's not something pertaining to the one who is blind follower, the one who doesn't know the religion. There's no connection between the two. All right, it's two different opposite meanings in the same category, meaning two opposite meaning in usulu fiqh, but it has opposite meaning and is pertaining to two different groups of peoples. Ijtihad pertaining to people who have scholars, ulama, not anybody, any scholar, not students of knowledge, someone who has al-ilm of the things I mentioned. Pertaining to the muqalid, then as the ulama say, and I want to end with this, المقالد ليس من أهل الأم. المقالد ليس من أهل الأم. The blind follower is not from the peoples of knowledge. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.